So, I want to start this off by saying I am a very skeptical guy. I became an atheist when I was about 17, and when my belief of God dissipated, the belief in everything else supernatural went out of the window as well. I also want to say that I've lived in Appalachia for all about 4 years, and I'm almost 22, and I have never experienced any of the creepy things people say about the Appalachian Mountains until the story I'm about to tell you. So, towards the end of the last year, 2023, me and two of my friends had a sort of quarter-life crisis, which eventually led us to getting rid of almost all of our belongings, quitting our jobs, leaving our apartments, and living out of our cars and door dashing around the country. Well, on our first night of our big trip, we went to stay with a friend of one of my traveling mates. She lived in Tennessee in the Appalachian Mountains, the Smoky Mountains specifically, which, for those of you that don't know, is like a subcategory of the Appalachians. She lived off of the back roads in the middle of the woods. The first night we were there, she had told us that there were good strange occurrences on the property. The house was haunted and there was something in the woods. She had told us this, but whatever it was in the woods likes to hang out around her shed. She said that one night she was walking up onto the porch when she got this overwhelming feeling of being watched. Becoming fed up with whatever it was, she screamed something along the lines of, "Go the fuck away," into the woods, only for something to scream right back at her. She claimed to have seen it one night from her kitchen window. She said that it was peeking around the shed, staring at her. It wasn't an animal, but it wasn't human either. Out of curiosity, I asked her to describe whatever this creature was that she had seen in more details, but she refused. I, being the skeptic that I am, basically disregarded everything that she had said and forgot about it. Now, because it was our first night on this trip, and it was so fun and new to us, we wanted to sleep in our cars, which were parked right in front of the shed that I mentioned earlier. Yes, that shed. We hadn't yet made window covers, so we were sleeping in 3 SUVs with uncovered windows completely surrounding us. But I had no issue with this. I thought the worst that could happen would be I'd wake up to a bear staring at me. So I went to bed peacefully and woke up in the middle of the night needing the pee. I got half dressed, put on my shoes, left my car, and walked to the edge of the woods, did my business, and got back in the car and went back to sleep. I had not a single care in the world. No uneasy feeling, no feeling of being watched, nothing. The next night, I once again woke up really needing to pee. So, just like I did the night before, I sat up in bed, put my pants on, got my shoes ready, and reached for the door handle. But I couldn't do it. It was like every hair on my body stood up on end, and I got this overwhelming feeling of dread and foreboding. Now, I had a makeshift bed in the back of my SUV, on top of all of the back seats that I flipped down. So, I'm sitting there in bed, looking around through all of my uncovered windows. I don't see anything outside, except some faint outlines of trees, and the glints off of the travel mates' cars. I neither saw nor heard anything. That should be putting me on edge. I reached for the door handle again, but I once again got this terrible feeling. I continued to look around, tried to reach for the door, and withdraw my hand. I finally gave up and said screw it, and I just peed in an empty water bottle. The next morning I got up and started talking to the other traveling mates, and one of them mentioned waking up in the middle of the night, out of nowhere, and experiencing this overwhelming feeling of being watched. She sat up in her makeshift bed and looked all around, only to see nothing. I can't lie, when she said that, I got a bit of a knot in my stomach. I asked her what time it was when that happened, and she estimated that it was around the same time that I woke up, around 3 a.m. I then told both of them about my experience, and we were a little freaked out about it. When we were headed out of our cars the following night, we noticed that all of the homeowners' 5+ outdoor cats were all sitting on our front porch, which we hadn't seen the last 2 nights. Previously, they were all scattered around the property, if they were even in sight. We thought it was weird, but we didn't really think much of it. We all climbed into our cars and said our goodnights on the walkie-talkies. It was pretty warm and muggy, and it was a night of October, so we all had our battery-powered fans running. One of my friends frustratingly reported that her walkie-talkie was dying. Then my other friend reported that their fan had died. Then my walkie-talkie started dying, and it continued until, in the span of 5 minutes, all of our electronics for our camping gear, walkie-talkie, flashlights, and fans had all died. Finding this incredibly creepy, we all decided that we should just go inside and sleep in there. Better safe than sorry. We were gathering up all of our things to move inside when I began to hear what sounded like something large walking through the leaves in the woods. I kept stopping what I was doing and just kept looking towards my friends, who were standing right by the woods. They seemed unbothered every time, so I would just continue what I was doing. That was when I heard a louder noise coming from the woods, and finally decided to walk over to my friends. Turns out, one of them was standing watch while the other one gathered the rest of her things. Me and my friend stood there watching the other friend's back, and it kept sounding like whatever it was in the woods kept getting closer to us. Soon enough, my friend had gathered up all of her things, and we calmly, but quietly, went into the house. From what I can remember, we slept in the house the following night as well. But the night after that, one of my friends borrowed some sage from the homeowner and saged all along the property line and around our vehicles before we got ready for bed. We slept perfectly fine for that night, and every night after. No more weird feelings, noises, nothing. And of course, we were pretty much perpetually on edge the entire time after that. But it was never quite the same feeling of dread and foreboding that I had felt before. To be honest, I don't know what to make of it all. I know I didn't see anything, but the feeling I got was unlike anything I had ever experienced. That was the first and only time in my life where I have gotten that feeling, especially just out of nowhere. I've told the story a few times, and I've had a few people tell me that it was just possibly a bear. But I don't think a bear would give me that sort of instinctual feeling of danger when I can't even hear or see it. And I'm fully aware that I may be biased now, but I've lended a bit more credibility to the homeowner stories after my experience. For those of you that are curious, no, we're not still on the trip. Unfortunately, the whole thing went downhill after a couple of months, and we are now integrating back into society. We are, however, all still friends. And no, we did not experience anything like this again, despite staying at several campgrounds in the middle of the woods and other parts of the Southeast. The story belongs to a friend of mine. He told me this once, and I simply have shared it. My friend is of a specific heritage of Native American. I'm not going to say it because I'm just going to butcher it. A Native American tribe who settled in the Pacific Northwest coast. He is quite the character. For one, he is a whopping 6'10" and has the blackest eyes you could imagine. He always has this frowning face going on, which makes him even more intimidating. He is everything but a bad guy, though. In fact, he's almost the most gentle of giants. He was working at the gas station up north in about 1992, and he was pretty much always working the graveyard shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. when he was relieved. Business wasn't exactly booming at nights, so he was usually watching TV or reading magazines between customers, and there were a few of them. The area he lived and worked in was deeply associated with all things Native American. There was a potent sense of pride in the surrounding communities, but also very distinct presence of superstition and old traditions. My friend was no exception. He was a firm believer in the ways of the old. This made his encounter even more terrifying. One night, he was sitting there watching TV as usual when a customer entered the gas station. The customer paid for his gas, a pack of smokes, and a soda and returned to his car. Nothing unusual. But as my friend looked out of the window towards the customer's car, he spotted what looked like to be a huge dog sitting by the edge of the woods. Now, the window is located on the side of the building, some distance from the sliding door, overlooking the pumps and the roof covering it. On the sides of the roof are pretty strong halogen lights, which shine into the gas station. This gives that gas station like the not only an eerie lighting vibe, but with the blinds casting along like striped shadows and stuff. And also it blinds the teller to an extent. As he peered through the window, trying to focus on the dog, it was gone. He didn't think much of it, but even if it was a wolf, he was inside and wolves don't tend to rob gas stations at night. Wolves were common here, but this wolf was huge. He brushed it off and returned to his mindless watching of the TV. A couple of hours go by, and not a single customer has entered since the last one. He was just about to refill some condiments when he heard a large thud coming from the back. It wasn't inside, he could hear that, but it came from the back, and behind the building they kept the garbage. The gas station has been visited before by scavenging homeless people, but my friend really didn't care. It wasn't his garbage, and it was garbage. Let them take it. But it just kept getting noisier. He decided to grab a flashlight and a gun from the office and circle around the back to tell whoever ventured there to leave, as he had had enough. His presence alone would have scared off anyone, but he wanted to feel safe just in case. He exited through the sliding door, walking past the window he was sitting by. As he turns the corner, he shines the light at the dumpsters. As the cone of light hits the dumpsters, my friend instantly drops the flashlight and the gun. It's the huge dog he saw before, scoring through the garbage. It wasn't a dog though. It clearly stood on its hind legs, reaching the same height as him. It couldn't be a bear as it was too gaunt. The creature's eyes were also glowing in the light of the flashlight, making it even more terrifying. He ran inside the gas station, and he wasn't followed. He locked the door and stayed inside the whole night and quit the next day. My friend is still convinced that he saw a skinwalker, a shape-shifting shaman of sorts that are a common occurrence in the Native American lore and culture. So sorry for the absence of blood and guts and gore. It's just a really creepy story. My friend called and told me that she had seen something horrific in her backyard. I rushed over right away, and we sat down in her living room. I took immediate notice that she had all blinds shut on her windows. She sat across from me on the couch. Her breathing was heavy and labored, like she had just finished a hard run, but I knew that wasn't the case. After a bit of silence, she told me what had happened as we sat in the dim lighting of the lamp next to us. I saw something outside. At first, it was on the edge of the trees. She stopped to again catch her breath and then continued. But when it saw me looking at it, it walked towards the house. She pointed towards the window behind me that overlooked her large, open backyard. I got up and walked over to the covered window. I reached and nervously pulled 2 blinds down, just to peer into the darkness. I saw nothing at first, but I focused my eyes on the trees lining the edge of the woods in the back. I could make out blotches of red on the bark. "Do you see anything?" she shouted at me, nearly sending me jumping through the window. I let go of the blinds and replied, "Not a thing, except some marks on the trees. Could be blood from an animal." I once again sat down beside her, closer this time. "Tell me what you saw." She let out a sigh and began. "This will sound absolutely crazy, but it's true, I swear." I nodded and leaned my head and listening intently. It was a skin walking. I replied in confusion, not sure I had heard her correctly. "A skin walking? Do you mean a skinwalker?" Tears formed in her eyes as she spoke with frustration. "No, not a skinwalker. I know what that is. I mean, I don't really know, but it wasn't that. It was something like someone's skin walking." I hadn't heard her wrong. The mental picture took shape in my mind and made my stomach do somersaults. I then did something I really didn't want to do. I asked her what it looked like. "What? Why do you want to know?" "I'm sorry, I just wanted to. It was somebody's cut off skin, walking in my backyard. No eyes, just empty black holes. And it left its blood trail as it came towards my house. It staggered out of the woods and knocked on the windows." Tears were now streaming down her cheeks. "I ran and hid in my room. Then I called you." Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you more. The question is now what to do next. Call the cops? And tell them what? That there's a skin monster walking around town. They'd probably arrest us. Before I could speak again, there was a loud thud on the window behind me. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you would like to see more of these, make sure to let me know down in the comments. Make sure to like, comment, and if you're new to this channel and you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe. We're doing nothing but growing. I've got a lot more Skinwalker stories if you guys would like to hear more. So just make sure to let me know. Make sure to check out the links in the description as well, like Twitter, Instagram, everything like that, including my Gmail if you would like to submit a story. I would love to tell some subscriber stories. But other than that, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one. And before I forget, I will be on a live stream with Phoenix Fire, aka Back to Ashes, this coming up Friday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, make sure to go check that out, and I'll make sure to post the link on my socials and everything like that, including the community tab. But yeah. Okay, bye.